The city was alive with its usual rhythm, cars rushing past, shop windows glowing with expensive lights, and laughter echoing from people who seemed to have no worries. But among the movement of the crowd sat a little girl in silence, her presence almost invisible to those who passed her by. Emily was only 7 years old, and though her smile was as bright as the morning sun, her life had been clouded by a truth she couldn't escape. She had never taken a single step. Asterisk, her wheelchair had become her world. Other children run freely, their feet pounding against the pavement, their voices filled with joy as they played games she could only dream of joining. She longed for it, the feeling of grass beneath her feet, the thrill of running until she was out of breath. But for her, that dream had always been locked away by doctors' words and her father's acceptance of what they called impossible. Asterisk, her father, Mr. Harrison, was a man of wealth and influence, dressed in perfectly tailored suits, always walking with the air of someone who could buy the world. But for all his power, he was powerless against the reality of his daughter's condition. The doctors had told him years ago that Emily's legs would never work, that she would never walk. He had tried specialists, treatments, surgeries, but all of them had ended in disappointment. Slowly, he stopped hoping. He convinced himself that accepting the truth was better than clinging to false dreams. Asterisk, that evening, after a long business dinner in one of the city's finest restaurants, Mr. Harrison stepped outside to make a phone call. Emily sat waiting. In her wheelchair just outside the entrance, her hands resting on her lap as her eyes followed the children playing across the street, she didn't complain. She never did. But her silence spoke of a longing deeper than words could carry. Asterisk, it was then that Daniel appeared. He was around the same age as Emily, maybe 8, wearing clothes that looked like they had been handed down many times before. His shirt was faded, and his shoes were worn thin, yet his face carried a joy that nothing seemed to steal from him. He skipped lightly down the sidewalk, humming to himself until he noticed Emily. Asterisk, he stopped, his head tilting slightly as he took in the sight of her sitting alone. There was no hesitation, no fear, only kindness in his eyes as he walked toward her. "Hi," he said brightly, his voice cutting through the noise of the street. "Why are you sitting here all by yourself? Don't you want to play with them?" Asterisk, Emily looked up, startled by his sudden approach. Strangers rarely spoke to her. Children often avoided her, not out of cruelty, but because they didn't understand. She lowered her gaze quickly. I can't," she whispered. Asterisk, Daniel frowned slightly, but leaned closer. "Why not?" Her voice was so soft, it was almost drowned by the traffic. "Because I can't walk." Asterisk, for a moment, Daniel's face grew serious. He looked at the wheelchair, then back at Emily. Most people would have sighed, muttered "I'm sorry," and walked away. But Daniel's eyes lit up with something different. "Who said you can't?" he asked. Asterisk, Emily blinked in confusion. "What do you mean? I've never walked. The doctors told my daddy I never will." Asterisk, Daniel crouched down beside her, his voice steady, filled with certainty. "Doctors don't know everything. Sometimes they just give up too soon. But you," he pointed gently toward her, "you haven't even tried with someone who believes in you. Get up, you can do it." Asterisk, her heart raced. No one had ever told her that before. Everyone around her always said what she couldn't do, not what she might be able to. For a second, hope flickered in her chest, but fear quickly drowned it. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "If I try, I'll fall. My daddy says it's impossible." Asterisk, Daniel smiled, his voice soft but full of conviction. "But I'm not afraid, and I won't let you fall. I'll hold your hand the whole time." Asterisk, Emily stared at him, her small hands trembling in her lap. She wanted to believe him, but years of being told no made her hesitate. She could almost hear the doctors repeating their verdict in her mind. Yet Daniel's eyes didn't look at her with pity, but with trust. It was a look that told her he truly believed she could stand. Asterisk, before she could answer, a sharp voice cut through the moment. "Emily." Her father strode out of the restaurant, his phone still in hand, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement. His eyes narrowed when he saw the boy crouched beside his daughter. "Who are you? Step away from her right now." Emily's chest tightened. She hated when her father raised his voice, but before she could explain, Daniel stood up and met Mr. Harrison's glare without flinching. "I'm just trying to help her," he said calmly. "She can walk if she tries." Mr. Harrison let out a harsh laugh, though his face darkened with anger. "Walk? She has never walked a day in her life. You think you know better then? Every doctor in this city? You're just some poor boy off the street? Don't fill her head with lies, asterisk." Daniel didn't back down. His voice was steady, stronger now. "May not have money or fancy words, but I know one thing, sometimes miracles happen when you stop saying impossible. If you keep telling her she can't, then she never will. But if she tries, maybe she can." Emily looked between them, her father's anger pressing against her like a heavy weight, and Daniel's belief shining like a light she had never known. Tears welled in her eyes. She wanted so badly to try, but fear clutched her heart. "Daddy," she whispered, "maybe I should." No, Mr. Harrison snapped, his voice firm. "Emily, listen to me. You will only hurt yourself. Don't you dare try." But Daniel extended his hand toward her gently, his voice low enough for her. "Alone? Trust me. Just one step. I'll be right here." Emily's chest rose and fell as she struggled to breathe. Her fingers trembled as they slowly reached out and wrapped around his hand. She could feel her father's eyes burning with disapproval. But something stronger than fear urged her forward. Daniel helped her place her feet on the ground. Her legs felt weak, as though they would crumble beneath her. But Daniel steadied her carefully. "Don't look at the ground," he whispered. "Look at me. You can do this." Her knees shook violently, her body swayed. For a terrifying moment, she thought she would collapse, but Daniel held her upright. "One step at a time," he murmured. Emily's heart pounded so loudly she thought the whole world could hear it. Slowly, with every ounce of strength she had, she pushed herself upward. Her legs trembled, her arms shook, her face twisted with effort. Then, against every word ever spoken to her, she stood. The world around her seemed to stop. The noise of the city faded away. She was standing wobbly, uncertain. But standing on her own legs for the very first time, her father's jaw dropped, his phone slipping from his hand. His voice came out in a whisper, trembling, broken, impossible. "She is Emily's." Eyes widened as tears streamed down her cheeks. She looked at Daniel, who smiled warmly, his eyes glistening. "See, I told you, you can do it." Her lips curled into the widest smile she had ever worn, and a laugh of pure joy escaped her as she took a tiny, shaky step forward. She almost fell, but Daniel's hand steadied her. Another step followed, and though her legs trembled with weakness, the fire inside her grew stronger. Her father could only stare. Torn between disbelief and awe, his world crumbling and rebuilding, all at once, Emily cried out through her laughter, her voice carrying into the night. "Daddy, look, I'm walking." And for the first time in his life, Mr. Harrison was speechless. The impossible had just begun to unravel. Mr. Harrison could not forget the sight of his daughter standing. That night, in the silence of his vast mansion, he paced the length of his office over and over, his heart heavy with questions. He had built his empire on certainty, on facts, on results, trusted professionals, doctors, specialists, who carried degrees and spoke with authority. All of them had assured him that Emily would never walk. And yet one poor boy, a child with nothing to his name, had done what money could not. He replayed the moment in his mind again, and again Emily trembling, standing on weak legs, and then stepping forward with tears of joy shining in her eyes. The memory both thrilled and terrified him. How could this be? How could everything he had believed about her condition be wrong? Meanwhile, Emily lay awake in her room, staring at the ceiling, her heart still racing from the miracle she had experienced. She had felt her legs beneath her. She had stood. She had walked. For the first time in her life, she had tasted freedom. and the taste was sweeter than she had ever imagined. She thought of Daniel, of his smile, of the way he had held her hand with such certainty, never doubting her for a second. Everyone else had told her no, but he had said yes. The yes had changed her world. The next morning, Emily could hardly wait to see him again. She begged her father to take her out, but he resisted, claiming he had business to attend to. While he was distracted on a phone call, she slipped out with her wheelchair, rolling down the street with determination. She found Daniel sitting on the steps of a small bakery, munching on a piece of bread. His face lit up when he saw her. "Emily," he called. "I was hoping you'd come." She grinned, her cheeks flushing with excitement. "Can we try again today? I want to walk more." Daniel nodded eagerly, his eyes sparkling. "Of course, one step at a time. Remember, you're stronger than you think." And so began their secret routine. Every day, when her father was busy with his empire, Emily met Daniel. He encouraged her, steadied her, and taught her to believe in herself. The first few days were hard. Her legs were weak, her balance poor, and she often fell. But each time she stumbled, Daniel was there to lift her back up. "Falling is just part of learning," he told her. "What matters is that you get back up." As days turned into weeks, Emily's steps grew steadier. Her laughter returned, brighter than ever, as she began to discover what it meant to move. On her own, Daniel cheered every small victory as though it were the greatest triumph in the world. And in a way it was. But Mr. Harrison was not blind. He noticed the change in his daughter, the sparkle in her eyes, the secret excitement she carried. Suspicion gnawed at him, and one evening he followed her quietly. What he saw shook him to his core. Yet, there in a quiet corner of the city, his daughter was walking. Her steps were shaky but real, her face glowing with joy as Daniel held her hand. Mr. Harrison's eyes filled with tears as he whispered, "My daughter. She's walking." For a brief moment his heart swelled with gratitude, but pride quickly returned to choke it. He clenched his fists. "No, she can't depend on that boy. She deserves better. She deserves the best." The next day, Mr. Harrison confronted Daniel. His voice was cold, his eyes sharp as blades. "Listen, boy, stay away from my daughter. I'll pay you whatever you want, money, food, clothes, just disappear." Daniel stared back at him, unafraid. "I don't want your money," he said. Firmly, "I just want Emily to believe in herself. That's all." Mr. Harrison's jaw tightened. "You don't understand. She's my daughter. She deserves to be surrounded by the finest doctors, the best care, not a boy like you." Emily, who had been nearby, overheard his words. Tears filled her eyes as she cried out, "Daddy, stop. He's my friend. He's the only one who ever believed in me." Her voice struck him like lightning. He turned to see her standing there, her small body trembling but upright, her eyes filled with fire. For a moment, he saw not a weak child, but a girl stronger than he had ever imagined. He wanted to argue, but the words caught in his throat. Despite his anger, Emily continued practicing with Daniel. Each day her steps became longer, her balance steadier. Her legs grew stronger, her courage unshakable. One evening, during a grand family gathering at the Harrison mansion, Emily decided it was time. The guests filled the hall, glasses clinking, laughter echoing against marble walls. Mr. Harrison greeted investors and relatives, his pride as sharp as ever. Suddenly a hush fell over the crowd. All eyes turned as Emily appeared at the top of the staircase. She stood tall, dressed in a simple but beautiful dress, her face glowing with confidence. Gasps filled the room as she placed one foot forward, then another, slowly descending the stairs on her own. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Is that Emily? She's walking." Mr. Harrison's heart stopped. He rushed forward, his eyes wide with disbelief as his daughter walked across the room. The music faded, the laughter died, and the only sound was the steady rhythm of Emily's footsteps. When she finally reached him, she threw her arms around him. "Daddy, look, I can walk." Tears streamed down his face as he fell to his knees, holding her tightly. My little girl. I was wrong. Forgive me. I should never have doubted you. He looked up to see Daniel standing in the doorway, his face shining with pride. Mr. Harrison's pride cracked at last, replaced by humility. He extended his hand to the boy, his voice trembling. And you've given me something no amount of money could buy. You gave me hope. From that day forward, everything changed. Emily walked more each day, her steps becoming surer, her laughter brighter. Daniel became part of their lives not as a poor boy to be dismissed, but as a true friend, a hero in their story. Eyes, to understand that wealth could not solve every problem, and that sometimes the greatest treasures were found in the most unexpected places. Emily and Daniel spent their days together, running, playing, laughing like children should. Each time she stumbled, he lifted her. Each time she hesitated, he reminded her, you can do it. And each time she grew stronger. The world had once called it impossible. But the impossible had been shattered by the courage of one boy who believed when no one else did. And so, the millionaire's daughter who never walked finally stood tall. It's not because of doctors, not because of wealth, but because of faith, friendship, and the refusal to give up.